Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody tuning in to today's webinar, where we'll be looking at Ukrainian storage solutions for LNG, and specifically for LNG in Europe. With me on the line, we've got Pat Roberts, who will be providing her usual analytical insights. And today she'll be interviewing and chairing the session, whereby we're delighted to say we've got Mr. Sergiy Makogon, who is the General Manager of the Gas TSO for Ukraine. Having looked at the registrations on today's webinar, I was delighted to see some new names and new faces. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. I hope you find today's webinar valuable, and please do use the chat box on the right-hand side for any questions you have for Sergiy and indeed for Pat. As mentioned, this will be the 8th webinar coming to you from the World LNG and Gas series. All previous editions are available online, on demand. All you have to do is go to www.lnghub.biz, lnghub.biz. Additionally, we recently launched a podcast series run by Pat. It's called the LNG Wrap. This is available again on Apple Podcast stores, on YouTube. You just have to search for LNG Wrap. There's currently 4 editions. It's short, it's bite-sized. It's just a summation of the week's news from the LNG and gas industry. Well worth a subscribe. And finally, just a new exciting announcement to announce. We will be going virtual with our Japan LNG and Gas Summit. So for our loyal followers who've attended our events in Japan before, you'll know it well. For those of you that haven't, please do check it out. It's www.cwcjapan.com. This will be going live virtually on the 8th and 9th of July. Already confirmed some great support from the likes of JERA, Tokyo Gas, the Institute of Energy Economics. So please do check that out. So now back to Europe and back to potential storage solutions for LNG. Over to you, Pat. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Capri. And you're getting very good at this, by the way. So hello and welcome to everybody joining us today. As Capri said, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK, it's 4 p.m. in the Ukraine, 9 p.m. in Singapore, and 8 a.m. in Houston. We've got over 300 people registered for the event. And as Capri said, I'm really looking forward to listening to and asking questions today to Mr. Sergiy Makogon, General Manager of the Gas TSO Ukraine. TSO is, of course, the transmission system operator. Now, why are we running this webinar? With global demand for gas, increasing levels of new LNG supply coming to market, Europe has been a target import market for a lot of LNG in 2020. Up around 25% on 2019 levels. And in May alone, 9.4 million tonnes arrived in Europe. That's 13.5 BCM. Not all of it was consumed, and a lot went into underground storage. These storage levels are on the rise. With current injection rate, Europe could be full come July or August. On a pan-European level, we're already about 70% full versus 55% full at the same time last year. And we've all long regarded Europe as the ultimate clearing zone for LNG. Yet we're now in uncharted waters. What happens if Europe were to simply run out of space to store gas? A physical problem, obviously, for all gas suppliers, pipeline and LNG, and a real pricing problem for spot gas as well. Well, there's hope that this won't happen. And with lockdowns easing, there may be some pickup in gas demand. And secondly, and very importantly, the Ukraine is offering some additional storage facilities. UKR Transgas and the transmission system operator are encouraging European traders and suppliers to consider new commercial options for storing gas temporarily in the Ukraine. So the topics we're going to cover in the webinar this afternoon are a quick overview of the Ukrainian gas market, the new improved flow rates at the border interconnection points, the proposed storage solution, what's needed commercially for suppliers and traders to get started and use the facilities in terms of capacity booking arrangements, and lastly, the longer-term view of the new integration of the Ukraine with Europe for both imports of LNG for Ukraine's own use and also for acting as an overflow to European gas storage. The slides that are shown today will be made available to everyone who's registered for the webinar. And as Gurpreet said, please send us in your questions or your comments as we run through the live session. I'll moderate it and try and group them into themes to Sergiy after his presentation. So we're going to start with Sergiy to give us a presentation, and then we'll follow with Q&A. So over to you, Sergiy.
Hello, everybody. So I'm very glad to participate in such an interesting event. So today I will actually speak on behalf of the gas TSO, transmission system operator, and also I will provide you some information on behalf of the storage operator. It's a different legal entity, but I think that for this stage it will be enough to present you the just general overview, and if you would be interested in details, you will be able to contact the storage system operator and find out all the details which potentially would be interesting to you. So first of all, I would start briefly introducing the Ukrainian gas transmission system. So just for you to understand that Ukraine used to be one single route to deliver Russian gas to Europe. So that's why we have this very powerful gas transmission system, which is historically was delivering up to 110 billion cubic meters of Russian gas to Western Europe. After that, the Gazprom decided to build Yamal pipeline, which is going through Poland and Belarus, and after that Nord Stream 1. Now Nord Stream 2 is building, but we still have the infrastructure in place, and definitely we are ready to offer our infrastructure for all other interested participants, and I will talk in details about the existing opportunities right now. Besides the gas transmission system, Ukraine possesses the biggest storages in Europe. So we have the gas storages with a total volume of 31 billion cubic meters. It's higher than in Germany, which is 25 or 26. And historically, these storages were used to supply Russian gas to Europe. So during the summer season, the Russian gas was injected to our storages. And after that, during the peak demand during winter season, the gas was immediately withdrawn from the storages and sent immediately to Western Europe through the interconnectors that we currently have. The majority of gas currently is supplying. Currently, we have a new transit contract with Gazprom with the ship-pay clause, and for this year we have to deliver 65 billion cubic meters of gas from Russian Federation to Europe. We have exit points for Russian gas to Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary. But you should understand that our system, you can see on this slide, is connected to actually to 8 countries. So we have the connection with Russia, definitely. We have connection with Belarus. We have connections with Poland. You can see the daily capacities in and out from Ukraine. We have our major connection is Slovakia. We can transport only to Slovakia up to 80 billion cubic meters per year. We have the quite strong connection with Hungary, so we can deliver significant volume to Hungary. Also, we have connections to Romania, and historically, the gas during the winter season, when Romania didn't have enough local production of gas, so historically, Ukraine helped Romania during this winter season. So Russian gas was delivered to Romania to cover the peak demands during the winter. We have connection also with Moldova, which is also quite interesting market with 2.5 billion liters of annual consumption. And we don't have the direct border with Bulgaria, but we have a direct pipeline which goes through Moldova and Romania directly to Bulgaria. It is called Trans-Balkan Pipeline. It was built back in the Soviet time, and historically was used to deliver gas from Russian Federation to Turkey, Greece, or other Balkan countries, and Bulgaria itself. Now, this pipeline is empty because Gazprom switched to supply gas to Turkey and Bulgaria through the Turk Stream, which was recently completed. So we have this huge infrastructure in place, and we spent almost 3 years to bring it to the from the commercial point and legal point of view to the way when the shippers could use it for other shippers, then Gazprom could use it. And now we can say that we delivered quite significant. We are ready to offer our infrastructure to other international market players based on the usual European approach. Like we have implemented the capacity allocation mechanism, we have implemented interoperability network code, balancing network code. So I believe currently we have everything in place which is usual for international traders, what they use in Western and in Eastern Europe. So I even heard that currently we are like in terms of the implementation of European regulation, we are far away from several of our neighbors, I mean, which are already part of Europe, but from the point of view of energy regulation, we are even further. So we're already cooperating with big names. This is publicly available information like Engie, Axpo, and other big names. They're already here. So some of them, they have representative office in Ukraine. Some of them, they don't have the representative office in Ukraine. They just use the infrastructure without opening the office in Ukraine. So about our capacities, so we have this 31 BCM of total capacities. So this is the several different locations of the gas, but majority of them are located in the western part of Ukraine, which is kind of like less than 100 kilometers from the border between, for example, Slovakia and Ukraine. So this is very close to Europe and very far away from the conflict that we have on our eastern borders. This is very important for traders to understand that we store gas quite far away from our existing conflict on the east. So this is about the infrastructure, about the storages, and now I will briefly describe the scenarios that we have, especially to facilitate the usage of Ukrainian storages for international traders. We introduced several very important things. First one is so-called the customs warehouse in our storages. So it means that all traders without registering in Ukraine, non-residents, can deliver gas to Ukrainian storages without paying any fees, any custom clearance fees, store it up to 3 years, and later they can either sell it inside Ukraine or send it back from Ukraine to Europe. It would be their decision. But it means this is very flexible solution, which was developed particularly for foreign energy traders. Besides that, we introduced so-called the short haul, which is the discount and transmission tariff between our border and our storages. So this tariff is usually up to 5 times lower than the usual entry tariff. And using this service, short haul service, the gas could be delivered from border to the customs warehouse or back from the customs warehouse to the border. But also we can deliver gas between the EU countries. For example, gas from Poland could be easily delivered through Ukraine to Slovakia or to Hungary or vice versa. So we are providing different kind of transmission services, and they offer it on daily basis, monthly basis, so quite flexible and useful solution. Just some information for you. So we during the this January-May season, so we imported already 5.2 billion cubic meters of gas. Majority of this gas was delivered under this short-haul product to our customs warehouse. So actually, the more than 85% of the gas is delivering right now to our storages under these two regimes. That's why I'm saying this is already tested solution. So it's already used by major players. It's not something new. I mean, this is already tested during several months, and definitely it also could be. We believe it will be in high demand during this very interesting storage season. Currently, we have about 18 billion cubic meters of gas in our storages. It means that we have about 13 billion cubic meters left for international player or for local players. So 13 billion cubic meters also could be injected to our storages. Definitely, our injection, we have the injection curves and withdrawal curves. They are available on the website of the storage operator, but maximum injection and withdrawal capacities are about 260 million cubic meters of gas per day. But this is the maximum. Definitely, it depends on the level of the fullness of the storages. Also, we have some agreements with the neighboring TSOs in order to facilitate the seasonal storage. We heard that Ustream launched this new service, which will stimulate the seasonal storage. They plan to offer a discount up to 40% in case of shipper books capacity, entry-exit capacity to Slovakia. We don't know if they are offering right now on the market, but at least we know that the regulator allowed them to provide such a service. And I think in case of the request from the shippers, they may consider offering it to the market. So now just different scenarios that since we have this meeting today for the LNG traders, how to bring LNG to Ukraine. So this is the main question. Unfortunately, we don't have LNG terminal in Ukraine. Technically, we could have it. We have the access to the Black Sea, and we have been discussing the construction of the LNG terminal in our southern part of Ukraine already for almost I don't know, 5 years. But the main problem is the Bosphorus. Yes, so currently what we know from the market, it is not possible for LNG terminals, LNG vessels to bypass the Bosphorus. If it would be possible, it's not a problem to bring a FSRU unit to Ukraine. We have the physical connection, how to connect this unit. But so far, as we know, it is not possible for LNG vessels to bypass the Bosphorus. So that's why technically it is not possible to bring LNG to Ukraine. So, but the LNG could be brought from other terminals. For example, on this slide you see that we so-call it northern direction. So this is the possibility to bring the gas from LNG terminal in Poland, in Świnoujście. We know that Poland is considering to bring additional FSRU unit to Gdańsk. And also, after construction of the pipeline between Poland and Lithuania, the LNG terminal in Klaipėda also could be used. So currently, we are ready to offtake from the Polish system up to 6.6 billion cubic meters of gas annually. But as we know, there is some limitation on Polish system, which reduce this volume to only 2 BCM till the time when they finish the some repairment works in their systems inside Poland. But as we know right now, up to 2 BCM could be delivered from the Polish terminal. And of course, as I already said, after delivering from Poland to Ukrainian gas storage, later after storing the gas in Ukraine, it could be easily delivered to Slovakia or even further to Baumgarten, to more liquid European gas markets. Then next slide. This is about southern direction. So we know that there are several LNG terminals in this area. First of all, in Greece, but also there are several LNG terminals in Turkey. And technically, the gas could be delivered through this Trans-Balkan pipeline, which I mentioned earlier. So this pipeline right now is empty because Gazprom is not using it anymore for gas deliveries to Bulgaria and Greece. So commercially and technically, this pipeline could be used for delivering gas in reverse flow, even the physical reverse flow. We spent almost 3 years together with the European Commission, with DG Energy and operators of all these countries to develop this route. I would like to say that it was not tested yet commercially. I mean, we didn't have the opportunity to test it for test deliveries of gas from Bulgaria. But from our understanding is that commercially everything is ready. So the tariff is established in Bulgaria and Romania. These capacities are offered to the market. So now we just need a lucky guy who will test the supply from this direction. If we talk in terms of volumes, potentially this pipeline could technically deliver up to 20 billion cubic meters of gas because it's huge pipelines. But of course, currently it's only 5 BCM because some additional compression power should be installed on them to reach such a huge volumes. But what I'm trying to say that in case of the interest of market players to develop this delivery route, for example, in case of the building additional terminal in Greece, this route could be used to deliver up to 20 billion cubic meters of gas from this direction to Ukraine, and then through Ukraine to other markets like Slovakia, Austria, Hungary, Romania, I mean other markets. So this is the southern direction. Of course, I mean the gas could be easily delivered from all other terminals through Baumgarten. Now, as you've seen, that we are importing already, we have imported already 5.2 billion cubic meters of gas, and as soon as the gas is offloaded from the vessels, it becomes the pipeline gas, and then it could be easily delivered to Ukraine for the seasonal storage. Recently, the storage tariff was decreased. Now it is less than €1 per megawatt per megawatt hour per storage cycle. So it's even less, something like 0.8. But all the tariffs, they are on the website of the storage operator, and there is different products like the guaranteed annual products. There is quarterly products, monthly products, and daily products, and different prices. But anyway, the storage price in Ukraine currently 5 times less than in neighboring markets, and based on the information that we have from the recent research, with the current spread between winter and summer, the rate of return on storing gas in Ukraine could reach up to 200%. So it means that our tariff is quite attractive, even considering all the transmission costs. So this is just brief information about how to conclude the contract. So we have one single standard contract, which is like the same for all traders. So currently we have already about 500 clients. I mean, everything is, we have the platform which is used to put denominations and other things. So we have these contracts in both languages. We have the possibility to have international arbitrage for the potential legal arbitrations and other things. So information is available on our site, and also you can contact our commercial dispatching, and they will follow up with you with all the technicalities and help you with the with all necessary information. And this is it. So I think now it's time for the questions, and I'm ready to respond.
Thank you very much, Sergey. A lot of information there, and a lot of pointers as well for practically how people can go about setting up agreements with you. Thank you very much to the audience as well. You've sent in around 20 questions, and I've been quickly trying to put these into themes and put a sort of a logical sequence here for Sergey to answer them. So Sergey, I'm going to start off with some pretty easy questions for you, and then I'm going to give you some really difficult ones at the end, which come from the audience. The first one that was submitted was to say, can you tell us physically where the gas is stored when it's in the Ukraine?
This is the western part of Ukraine. It's depleted production fields. So this is like this area very close to the border of Poland and Slovakia is, as I said, less than 100 kilometers. So this is depleted fields, and they were historically, as I said, used for the kind of creating the stock for delivering Russian gas to Europe during the peak demand.
Okay, thank you. And I think you mentioned as you went through that you had 13 BCM of available storage.
Yes.
And you're saying that would be sort of freely open, would it, to new proponents that want to use your storage either for injection and long-term storage, or injection and fairly quick withdrawal over the next months or so? Is that correct?
Yes. So the with the current level of fullness of the storages, I think we can inject daily about 120 million per day. I think this is more than the import capacities that we have at the border. I mean, so that's why I think that in the current situation, the main limit would be not the injection rate of the storage; it would be the import capacities at the border. Recently, we significantly improved and increased the import capacities. We created two virtual interconnection points, with one with Hungary and another one with Poland. So technically, it means that we can do the virtual reverse flow, and we can actually, virtually revert all the transit that we have right now of the Russian gas. I mean, if transit, for example, now is about 150 million per day of gas, so technically we can all this volume virtually import into Ukraine. So that's why, I mean, you can see on my first slide the capacities for each point. But as I said, now this year we significantly increased the import capacities.
Okay, I think I heard you say that the maximum injection rate into the Ukraine was 260 cubic meters per day.
When the storages are fully depleted, I mean that this is the initial injection capacities, and then it is decreasing. And now today it's about 120 million per day.
120 million per day. And when you look at the withdrawal, one of the questions that have come in is, can that come out at a similar rate, or is that different?
No, it's the same. So we have the withdrawal curve, and also it's start from 250 when the storages are fully full, and it is constantly decreasing by curve to, as I remember, to 90 million per day.
Okay. And then another question that came in is saying, is there a TSO agreement in place with Romania currently, so that gas can flow between the two countries?
Yes, but only on one interconnection point. It's actually one. We have 4 interconnection points, but currently we have the contract only with one. It's actually one. So.
Okay, and one of the key reasons
but it could be used for importing gas to Romania as well. At least currently Romania is importing Russian gas through this point.
Okay. One of the key reasons why we wanted to run this webinar is, as you say, your storage offering is not new, but it's possible that a lot of LNG traders who are now putting gas into European terminals are not aware of the products and the services you're offering. And these products, you're saying they are a discounted tariff, and you are using the storage, as I understand it, as a sort of a bonded warehouse where there's no tax or duty paid. So how practical and how easy is it for LNG traders to get started in order to look at using your storage over the next 6 months?
No, it's quite easy. So we have, as I said, just one contract, standard contract. It's not negotiable. I mean, this is just, usually we spend like months to negotiate the contract, but in our case, we cannot negotiate it because it was approved by the local regulator. So that's why it makes life easier for both sides. And the same standard contract approved for the storage operator. So actually, the interested LNG trader just need to sign 2 contracts. One contract with TSO, transmission system operator for transmission services, and another contract for the storage services with the storage operator. And as I said, we already have such a contract with a lot of big names. So that's why I believe this contract is quite acceptable for foreign partners.
And I think you mentioned that the costs, you were talking about €1 per megawatt hour, but even discounted from that to about 0.8, which you said would make it very commercially attractive. And I think that the question that I've got from the audience is saying, is that the all-in cost, or are there any other costs that have to be included as well?
No. So the if it is customer warehouse, bonded warehouse, so it's only injection, storage, and withdrawal. And as I said, it's this is the average price I mentioned, at less than €1 per megawatt hour. But there are different products. For example, it's separate accelerated withdrawal, separate accelerated injection, storage, different products. So it's we can develop the proposal for which will meet the like request of any trader. So this is like, as I said, we have different products. So it's like bundled product, unbundled product. So it's very flexible offering for the storages. And separate costs are related to transportation, to deliver gas from the border to the storage. I mean, to the entry to the storage. So this is like two costs. No other costs are expected.
Okay. Another question is, will you be able to auction any capacity on the pipeline system when Russian volumes reduce from 65 BCMA to 45 BCMA in 2021?
Of course, so we have the guaranteed capacities, which doesn't depend on the Russian flows. For example, we have the guaranteed capacity from Slovakia in the amount of 24 million per day. So, I mean that anyway, so we will auction the interruptible capacity for the decreased volumes of Russian gas. I mean, yes, we will do, but it will be either guaranteed or interruptible. And as I said, in our country, it is allowed a virtual reverse flow. It means that we can net the volumes of Russian transit with the import, which significantly improves and increases the import capacities.
Yes, indeed. Here is another question, which is saying, is the gas transport to the Ukraine and the injection dependent on Russian volumes flowing the other way? I.e., does Russia effectively control some injection potential or the volumes?
Is gas transport to Ukraine depends on Russian volumes flowing the other way? No, I mean that you should understand that we don't have these separate pipelines from the border to the storage. It's one single system. Definitely, we are not bringing the Russian gas to the border and then bringing the Polish gas, for example, back. So everything is done by netting. So it's like a more complex approach. So we optimize the flows.
Do you have to continually, though, upgrade and modernize the transportation system, though, to reach the sort of levels that you're talking about in terms of injection into the Ukraine and out?
Yes, of course, we constantly do modernization, but you should understand that we have overcapacity. So we used to be the one single transportation route for Russian gas. So our export capacities is 145 billion cubic meters per year. 145. So we actually can deliver almost all Russian gas, even right now, to Europe. Besides of this Yamal, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. So we have very excessive capacities, which now we're offering to other market players. So we don't need to modernize, to expand the capacities. We have like excessive capacities.
I see. And another question.
If I answered your question.
I think that, yes, no, you did. I think there was another question which came off the back of interruptibility, because one of the members of the audience asked, what is the risk of interruption of the gas flows in and out of the Ukraine if LNG suppliers want to use it? And I think you talked about two products, one where you're saying there's an auction for capacity, which is sort of firm and non-interruptible, and the other one was for interruptible. So just to be clear, if LNG traders wanted to use this facility over the next 6 months, would it be interruptible capacity or firm capacity?
This is like the storage capacities, they are technically they are almost firm. Yes, if the gas is in the system, so definitely it could be injected and withdrawn. I don't see the reasons why for example, export. For example, if after the storing the trader would like to export gas from Ukraine to other market, I don't see any reason for interruption because the gas will be physically withdrawn from the storage and physically sent to the border. There is no kind of reason for interruption. For the import capacity, it could be potentially interruption because, as I said, the guaranteed capacity to Ukraine is only from Slovakia, which is 24 million per day. But I don't remember any case when there was interruption in deliveries from Europe to Ukraine. So usually all the nominations were executed both by Ukrainian TSO and by European TSO. The interruption rate is far less than 0. something. So I don't remember any case when there was interruption.
Okay, we're in really unusual circumstances at the moment, and I think that we're seeing that potentially a lot more LNG could want to come to Europe between the months of June to October, or perhaps even to the end of the year. A question which keeps popping up into the chat box is just how much free capacity would you have to offer for LNG importers to temporarily store their gas in the Ukraine?
As I said, it's 13 billion cubic meters. I mean, we are offering to for all the players. We're offering to pipeline players, to LNG players. We even offering these capacities to Gazprom. So we don't have any kind of limitations or something like that. So we offered our capacities to Gazprom, saying that, guys, if you would like to store gas in Ukraine, please just pay money, and this is it. So that's why we're offering the gas. I mean, just business. Yeah. So the same approach to other shippers. So we don't care who will be the shipper, and we will offer all the capacities which we currently have to the market, because we already have enough gas in our storage from the point of view of security of supply. In that the Naftogaz, who is responsible for creating such a storage, already has enough gas in the storages to ensure the interruptible gas supply to Ukrainian consumers during the heating season. So all the remaining capacities will be offered to the market.
Okay, here's a really difficult question, I think, that was put out by the audience here to say, how do you see the gas values developing over the next 10 years? You were talking about the summer-winter spreads, but we're in such unprecedented and unusual times, and so much gas sloshing around in Europe. There is a contango in the market, but is it sort of is it wise to sort of think about using storage as a contango play, or do you see it sort of fundamentally just being seen as a physical play at the moment to be an additional overflow for European gas?
No, I personally think that during the next couple of years, the price would be relatively low, but definitely it will be negative impact on the gas production worldwide. And we know that at least in Ukraine, a lot of gas producers, they're reducing their capex and investments in new fields. The same in Russian Federation, so they already announced that they will decrease the supply to Europe by 16%. Also, I know that in United States, a lot of LNG producers, they are considering to either postpone the project or even stop several projects. So I believe that in a mid-term perspective, it will be negative, a negative effect on the market development. So I think that next couple of years, the price would be quite low, and after that, I think it will stabilize somewhere around $150, $170 per thousand cubic meters.
Let's move on now to Ukraine's, the interesting point here about you're saying that you could have a demand for about 6.6 BCM of gas coming into the Ukrainian system, and you were talking about it potentially coming in through the Poland LNG receiving terminal or through Greece. Can you give us a little bit more of an update about the active steps you're taking to actually import LNG into the Ukrainian system for your own use?
I mean, we are, as a TSO, we are not involved in gas trading, so we don't know. But we heard that already several deliveries of LNG, American LNG, was done through the Polish system. Physically, I don't know what physically molecules of LNG was delivered to Ukraine, or it was some swap with other gases. I don't know. But we know that the gas is constantly delivering from Poland to Ukraine, and our market is fully open. We have about 500 traders, and they are free to choose where to buy gas, either in Poland or Slovakia or Hungary or any market, and bring it to Ukraine. So we have severe competition between the traders. And thousands of traders do import gas to Ukraine every day from different directions. So that's why this is fully open market without any price regulation and without any restriction. So technically, I know that there is some negotiations with some companies who would on long-term basis deliver LNG to Ukraine, but we are not involved in this process.
Yeah, no, it has been sort of in the news in the last couple of months about Ukraine saying it was interested to import, and they had mentioned specifically US LNG, but I guess we're saying it's open to any LNG source to come into the country.
Yep.
Okay, and let me just see. I think we've covered the majority of the questions here. I think perhaps one last practical point which was coming in was saying, so if an LNG company at the moment that hasn't already got an agreement with you, you're saying there are fairly standardized agreements which are ready that you have off the shelf to use. How long do you think it would take for someone to set up agreements and to actually start using your facilities? Are we talking a matter of weeks or a month or what, in order to get going operationally?
Usually it shouldn't take more than 2 weeks to sign the contract, because it's like the first step is to sign the contract, the second step is to prepay for the capacities, and this is it. So after that, nominations and gas is flowing. I mean, so usually it doesn't take a lot of time. So a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, it's quite enough to start the operations.
Okay.
Maximum.
Sorry, the sound was a bit weak on my end, but was that 2 to 3 weeks?
Maximum 2-3 weeks. So this is quite the usual process for us. So usually it doesn't take a lot of time.
Okay, and another question which was coming in is that you were saying that your tariffs are competitive. Someone is saying here, on a BTU basis, how competitive are they with other storage owners in Europe?
I don't know how to convert it to the BTU, but I know that the storages in Europe, usually the price for the storage per cycle is about from 3 up to 5 euros per megawatt hour. In our case, it's less than 1 euro. So it means that we are 3 up to 5 times cheaper than usual storage in Europe.
Okay, and one last question. It's a little bit a tangent, really. We were talking about very much Ukrainian storage being used on the western side to integrate with Ukraine and Europe. But someone has asked here about, do you see a new point on the eastern border for trading as well?
Yes, we've been offering that to Gazprom for years already. So it's not our decision. So everything is ready, and it's quite correctly said that Gazprom has everything already in place to start trading on the eastern border. So they have this electronic sales platform, and they just need to add the entry delivery point, the border Ukraine-Russia. And this is it. From the point of view of the interconnection agreement, nominations, and other stuff, we are fully ready to work and to organize such business on the eastern border. But unfortunately, this is the position of Gazprom. It should be their decision to start offering this the gas on the eastern border.
Okay, I have 2 questions left. One is the immediate short term, and one is slightly longer term. In the immediate short term of the summer months in Europe, do you feel that we will be able, by using the Ukrainian storage as additional storage, do you think we will be able to avoid having gas prices go negative in Europe this summer?
We see that there is a huge interest to our storages at the market, because we receive already the so-called customs declaration for import from the traders. So it's huge volumes. We expect that during the season, up to 6 billion cubic meters could be injected to Ukrainian storage by foreign players. So we see that there is a demand and interest to our storages, but like frankly speaking, it's very difficult for me to predict what will happen with the gas prices, because there is huge dynamics on the market, LNG vessels, you know, all these things. So unfortunately, I'm not ready to predict.
I don't blame you. But what would success look like for you this year? So when you come to the 31st of December, I know I appreciate that's the middle of the winter season, but if you come to the end of this year, what would you say would have been a success in terms of what you can achieve?
I mean that we started to offer these products just this year. Actually, storage was the testing of this customs warehouse was last year, but it was then quite not significant volumes. But this year we see that the volumes are huge. So I think that we are our goal is to prove to Europe and to the political level of Europe and to the traders, to the business side of Europe, that we are a reliable partner, that our gas transportation system could be and always actually was the integral part of the European gas network, and we are very necessary part of the energy security of Europe. So our storages could be very useful to ensure that gas market in Europe is stable and the security of supply is ensured. So this is our main goal, and I hope that we will be able to prove that we are a reliable partner and can bring additional value to the clients in Europe.
Yeah, and that's a great aspiration to have. And I think, you know, you're entering this at a time of maximum need in a way, when there's, you know, sort of European traders really, really need this to help with the most unusual circumstances no one could have really predicted a year ago. If we look further down the track, let's say 5 years forward to 2025, do you foresee a much more sort of integrated system between the Ukraine and, you know, you say the Western entry points and perhaps also the East, but do you just see a much more fluid, integrated gas market developing as a result of this?
Yes, definitely. We have significant plans. Everybody in Eastern Europe is building a regional gas hub. Bulgaria is building, and other countries. So we also have the aspiration to build Eastern European gas hub, and we believe that we have very good possibilities for that, because we have huge storages, we have huge and very powerful gas transmission system. So now we just need to offer to the market players the products and the kind of assurance that the rule of law will be protected in Ukraine. So this is the main inspiration for us. We are the biggest market in the Eastern Europe. So our annual consumption in Ukraine is about 30 billion cubic meters. So we're a huge market, and we believe that we will be very attractive to the international traders because, you know, it is very difficult to find such a big market in Eastern Europe somewhere else. So we are the big market, we have very good infrastructure, and I believe that our market could be very liquid.
Well, Sergey, you certainly have the opportunity to do that, I think, right now. I'd like to thank you very, very much for agreeing, first of all, to do this webinar with us and answering all of these questions. We've had so many questions come in, and that, I think, is a real testament to the interest and the frankness that you've had in answering them to show that this is a viable product and it is available, and it's available right now for people to use. So I'd like to close the webinar by saying to everybody, you will get PDFs of the slides which Sergey has used today, and on that are his contact details, and also shows you, I think, how the procedure is set for you to be able to go about having some type of booking arrangements for injection and withdrawal. And Sergey, to you and your team, I wish you the best of luck over what's going to be a really challenging time. But it's clear to me, that you have got a real plan in place to develop and increase Ukraine's gas business. So thank you very much for that today. And like to draw it to a close by saying thank you to everyone who has stayed with us. We've had a really excellent attendance and great questions. So thank you all very much. Stay safe, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you, and goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.